Have you ever wondered what Where's Waldo would be like with just like a little bit of crime? Not like Breaking Bad crime, but like a little bit of crime. I mean, what if Waldo was a world-class bank robber this whole time? That would explain why he's so good at hiding. If this Where's Waldo for adults idea really strikes your fancy, then have I got the game for you. It's a new game called MicroMacro Crime City. So, if you want to know more about this game and try your hand at finding the needle in the haystack, then might I suggest... Hi, I'm Alex and welcome to Might I Suggest a Game, a channel devoted to helping you find your perfect board game. Today I've got another episode of Fresh from the Cellar for you, a segment where I check out a newish game, give you a quick overview, and then give my recommendations for the types of people that I think would really enjoy this game. I love playing new games, and I'm always open to new suggestions, so if you have any new games that you've been thinking out that you want me to try, drop them below in the comments. And while you're there, don't forget to hit subscribe and that little bell button so you can get notified when I post new content. I really love hearing from you all, so don't be shy, drop a comment. Anyways, on to the good stuff. Today we're going to be talking about MicroMacro Crime City, a cooperative mega map game from Spiele. MicroMacro Crime City, like I mentioned before, is kind of like Where's Waldo, but with a little edge. All the players will act as detectives going around the huge city map with a fine-tooth comb, trying to collect clues and solve the cases along the way. The base game has 16 different cases for you to solve of varying difficulties, which will make you scour every inch of this huge map. Just as a heads up, you're going to need a big table and some really good lighting for this one, because the designers packed a ton of action in every inch of this game. Anyways, this game plays up to 4 players, and while you could technically play with more, we found that even with 4, it was getting a little crowded for people to look at the details on the map. Even still, I really enjoyed this game, and I can't wait to tell you more about it. So, will MicroMacro Crime City be the perfect game for you? Let's find out, shall we? In MicroMacro Crime City, players will be working together to scour the giant city map to collect clues and ultimately solve these crimes committed by these cute characters with some pretty dark motives. When you start the game, you'll have to choose one of the 16 cases in the box. Each case is broken up into a series of different tasks, which each require you to find a specific scene on the city map in order to complete it. Now, when I say scene, here's what I mean. The city map in MicroMacro Crime City isn't just a map of space, it's also a map of time. What that means is you'll find different frames from each crime, from the setup to the crime to the aftermath, all represented in different areas of the map. Your goal is to track down each one of these scenes in order to solve the mystery. When you think you found the scene that the task is referring to, one player that's been designated as the lead investigator will flip over the task card and compare the scene on the back of the task card to the scene that you've chosen on the map. If the 2 scenes match, then congratulations, you've completed the task and you can move on to the next one. But if they don't match, the lead investigator will flip that card back over and you'll have to keep searching without their help until you can find the correct scene. Once you've gone through the map with a fine-tooth comb and finished every task, you'll have solved the mystery and completed the case. MicroMacro Crime City is a really simple concept and is super easy to just pick up and start playing. I really like the fact that it still had that nostalgia of the I Spy or the Where's Waldo from my childhood, but with the extra element of having to connect the dots and solve the crimes, it really combined that nostalgia with the feel of an escape room style game, which I also love. So really for me, it was a win-win. I also love the fact that the cases scale from easy to hard. This allowed you to jump into a game at an accessible point so you could get a feel for the game before you got into something really difficult. Another thing about this game is that because each case plays pretty quickly depending on how good you are, it's super addicting and it makes you really want to play multiple cases in a row. I love games that keep me coming back for more, and MicroMacro Crime City is definitely one of them. Now, it wasn't all butterflies and roses. There are definitely parts of this game that aren't necessarily a plus. First of all, due to the nature of the game, if you've got bad eyesight or you're just an aging millennial who's been staring at a screen too much,
I do that.
it makes this game a lot harder because the map is so tiny and so intricate that things just start blurring into each other after a while. The next thing that isn't necessarily a negative but is kind of a bummer is that this game has a limited lifespan. Once you play all the cases, it's done, which is the unfortunate truth about many of those escape room style games. But we found that if you could play the game without making any marks on the map, then it's super easy to recycle and give it to a friend that hasn't played it before. Really, the main thing I enjoyed about this game though was the fact that I don't really have another game like it. I've played hidden object games, I've played whodunit deduction games, but I've never played a game that combines both of these concepts so seamlessly. When I first saw MicroMacro Crime City, I thought it was just going to be like, oh, I found this thing, cool, move on to the next thing. But really, when you play it, and especially when you move on to the more difficult cases, there's some pretty big leaps of deduction that you have to make in order to get from point A to point B. I love games that require that sort of lateral thinking, and MicroMacro Crime City is a great example of that. Because MicroMacro Crime City is such a unique proposition, I think there's a place for it in any collection, which is why I love recommending it. So, speaking of recommendations, let's jump into a few of those. Here are my recommendations for the type of people that I think would really like MicroMacro Crime City. First, if you love the dark humor of those classic 2000s webcomics like XKCD, Cyanide and Happiness, and Happy Tree Friends, then you should check out this game. Second, if you used to be obsessed with those magic eye illusion pages when you were a kid and you just want to bliss out on some really intricate details, then you should definitely check this game out. And lastly, if you've always wondered what would happen if Waldo broke bad, or if you're just looking for a fun, low-key detective experience that can still get challenging for even the most seasoned sleuths, then might I suggest MicroMacro Crime City. Thanks so much for sticking around for today's episode of Fresh from the Cellar. Go ahead and head to the comments now to tell me which new game I should check out next. I'm always open to new suggestions, and I hope my wallet is too. I love hearing your suggestions, and if it gives me a chance to expand my collection, then I consider it a win. Right, honey? She said yeah. Anyways, thanks so much for the support. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so I can keep growing this channel and keep helping you find your perfect board game. Once again, this has been a Might I Suggest production, and I'm Alex, your board game sommelier, signing off.